Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I'm going to ask a question. I want you to take a moment to think about it. What are you worried about at this very moment? I'm going to pause, let you think, reflect. What are you worried about at this very moment? And why are you worrying? We're going to talk about that today to minimize that worrying, which brings on many other challenges like anxiety and fear. Why Worry is the title of her book, and she is our professional of the year. She's a dream life coach, and she is the right way to your dreams. Miriam Wright joins us once again. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing today?
Terrific, terrific. I love this topic. I think it's so universal for many of us in our daily lives. And tell us, Miriam, who your guest is. She's been with us before. She's back.
Miss Tammy Star Workman Lopez. She is also a life coach. And I've known her for years and years and years. She's excellent. And she has a lot more experience than I do. So I go to her for a lot.
Excellent. Why do we worry, Miriam? Can you answer that question? Let's get
That's
right
a
to the basics.
universal struggle. It's a universal struggle. And I can say at least 1 in 3 individuals worry about one thing or another. And a lot of us worry about things we don't need to worry about. We're going to worry about the weather. We cannot change the weather. We're going to worry about things that we can't do a thing about, but we're worrying. And if you don't deal with that worry, it can cause a lot of havoc.
Is worry the same thing as fear?
They're all in the family. Worry, concerned, doubting yourself, fear. Oh, they're all in one family.
Tammy, what are your thoughts on this conundrum that we have called worrying?
Well, basically the idea of them all being in the same family is so important. I like to use a battery. We have negative emotions and we have positive emotions. We've decided in our culture to get rid of that. But if we get rid of the negative emotions, then it can't work. And that's exactly what we're doing with ourselves. We're just focusing on all these negative emotions like they're so bad, so bad. They're actually telling us something. If we're able to give ourselves room to listen, what is it guiding us to? Then we can kind of clean that off and let the flow happen between both the positive and the negative.
What can we do? Well, before I even ask that question, does worrying support us? Is it evolutionary where, my understanding is fear is there to protect us?
100%. I just want to check, am I answering that question?
Yeah, we both can. Yes, it is there to protect us.
Yeah, the idea of worry, it is often stemming from a few different things. So we can be in overwhelm about something. We could be feeling inadequate about something. We could be criticizing ourselves about something. So we want to break up which action are we in? Which emotion are we in? So if we're just in anxiety and fear, we're telling ourselves, well, I should be doing this, or what if I did this, or what if they do that? So we're creating this experience of something not being safe. Then we just take a look and allow ourselves to shift it and see what if that's true. There may be something we need to do in there for that to be handled, right? If somebody's coming at us something dangerous, okay, do whatever needs to be done to make sure you're okay. But if it's just these thoughts, then why are the thoughts coming? What do I need? Instead of asking what's wrong with me, it's asking what do I need? And that answers almost all the time what's going on there.
What about if we looked at worrying, and we'll go hypothetical, just a more minimal situation. I'm not talking about like worrying about a job interview or things like that. Let's say that you have a fear of maybe separation, and now you're looking at your week ahead, and I don't know, you're usually you have plans, but you don't have any plans, nothing locked in, and you have this fear of being alone by yourself, and you don't like that. So you worry about it. So you worry if, a plan is going to fall through. And how would you take even a situation like that and maybe use it to your benefit to realize things?
Well, twofold. It's being able to take a look at there's more to this than what we're focusing on. We're focusing on worrying about this event or this thing. Okay, that's one. Now let's take it a little bit deeper. What has you afraid of being alone? What is going on there?
Hmm.
And so, well, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. When I am alone, this happens. There's something else deeper that's at the root of that. And so once that's taken care of, then whether you're alone or not, you feel like you're in good company.
I would imagine any situation with worry that you can flip that around and learn something from it. Why is it happening? Why am I feeling it? Might not be easy. You might have to, connect the dots. Might take you a little bit of meditation, soul searching, but there's an answer in all of it, right?
Yes. However, it's taken me 30 years. It wasn't just, I do a little meditating and I get the answer. I have
Sure.
had severe worry, severe anxiety, but I also had severe trauma that was really drained into me of you're not enough, and you're not okay and you're broken. And so I took that with me and I didn't know how to get out of that. And a lot of people have versions of that. And so they don't even know the worry that they have is not real. And if they try to meditate out of it, the worry doesn't go away because they don't know how to get to the root of what's going on. And not like we have to go relive the scenario, but it's more like what we were just saying. What's having me think that? When I am alone, what comes up?
Hmm.
When I am worrying, sometimes we're worrying about something that's justifiable. We don't need to push it away. We need to take a look and go, well, I've been worried about not doing well because I'm not doing well. What do I get to do that needs to happen here? So it can be telling us some action is need to be taken out there, or the action is in here. Yeah, it's totally guiding us. I have a guidebook that talks about how every emotion is a guide. Every single one. They're talking
Hmm.
like the gas light. The gas light comes on, you now know that it means gas. The oil light, the engine light, it's just a light telling you something's needed.
Were you mentioned that you had 30 years of challenge. Where did that lie? Was that anxiety?
Oh, heck yeah. But it was all of them. It was anxiety, it was stress, it was overwhelm, inadequacy, sadness, depression. I mean, you name it. I have lived a constant dread, most of my life. And it was slowly growing out of that and learning all the tool. There's not one tool that I got that did it.
Sure.
Um, but it was the biggest one was learning I'm making all of it up, but it's a belief pattern that I have. I had to realize how was I making it up? How can I change it? What's the new way I can practice? And I needed to learn literally step by step what to do. And a lot of it I had to kind of piecemeal all the tools and create my own program.
Did you find, Tammy, as you worked yourself through it, that you had thoughts of, I'm in reality now. This is the reality. I figured it out. And then sometimes you gravitate toward back of the fantasy, if you will, where you were making it up. This is not real. I'm living in this fantasy
Mm.
world. That's the best way I can describe it. But then you would come back, and now I'm in the this is the real. I don't have to worry about that. I'm good. This is, and you
Yeah,
gravitate back and forth.
not that clearly. It would be nice if it was that clear. It is
I didn't. Well,
now.
I didn't say it was
It
clear.
is
I just
now.
said, I just,
That's starting to happen that clearly now. But in the past, it was more like, how do I stop failing? How can I be good enough? I didn't even know I was in the not real. That was what was real.
Well, sure.
And
I'm
so,
talking. I am talking later,
oh,
later down the
yes,
line. Oh,
yes,
for
yes.
sure. No, I said after doing
But
the
much
work,
later, I have to say
much
much
later.
later. Even
Yeah,
after doing the work and doing the work and doing just this week, I am doing a study on the laws, the law of receiving and the law of giving. They call it the laws, but it's really God's laws. And I finally got, just because of a new perception and new words, that I was in this place of I don't feel like I'm giving enough. But what was really happening is all of the ways I have been giving, I didn't see that as valuable because it wasn't monetary. I heard the thank yous and I saw the changes and I felt good about it, but it still wasn't quite sinking in. And just doing the work and hearing it differently, that smile is valuable, that effort is valuable, that listening is valuable, but owning it in such that way, I just cried and cried and cried. And I just now got that this Tuesday.
Do you feel, and I'm
Mm.
happy for
Me
you.
too.
Yeah. Do you feel that that goes back to one of the fundamental things that we all deal with, that we're not good enough? So
100%.
yeah. Yeah, where it's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not, a smile is not making a difference. Meanwhile, you could walk into a Starbucks and smile at the clerk, and you don't know what they're going through, but you could save their life at that moment. And you don't even know it.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what with Miriam's book, what the point is. It's like we are in this place, but we just don't know how to get out, right? And that's the one thing that has annoyed me to the beginning of my life. People would say, well, just do this. And I would always say people and their good advice would make me feel not very Christian because I'd want to wring their neck. If I just knew, then I just would be already. Thank you. Go away.
Sure. 100%. Yeah, Miriam, when we start to worry, what are some of the steps that we should take to get out of that cycle of just, you got something coming up, situation, whatever it might be. What can we do?
One thing that I have the clients do is make a list. Make a list, several lists actually. The first one is a worst scenario, best scenario. If you do this, what's the worst thing that can happen? If you do it, what's the best thing that can happen? Just like I was saying, I think in a couple of shows ago, I went up in a hot air balloon and I was like, okay. And I had the best time ever. I mean, it was so, looking down on, from up there, it was like, wow. And Tammy jumped out of a plane. And I'm sure she had the same thing. What's the worst thing that can happen if I go? What's the best thing that can happen if I go?
Yeah.
Then make a list of what it is, 3 columns, what it is that you absolutely have no control over. You're worrying, but you have no control. What is it that you have partial control over? And what is it that you have full control over? And then also, there's a workbook actually at the back of the book. And then write down all your worries. Who are you sharing your worries with? Don't keep them to yourself. Who are you sharing them with? Because what you're worried about, somebody else could say, what are you worried about that? This is, really? You can do this and this and this. So always share your worries. If you need a friend, a coach, a therapist, whoever, but get it out there, because if you keep all that in, believe me, headaches, insomnia, a whole bunch of stuff can come out of it. People are not sleeping and they wonder why they're not sleeping.
Oh, I have so many friends. You just described them.
Right.
And then what takes place after that? Medication, and there's a place, there's a place for everything, occasional gummy can support, but at the same time, you probably don't need that if you can master the worrying situation. I'm not saying it's easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy, but let somebody else in on what it is that you're worrying about.
Sure.
That alone lifts a lot off of you.
And I believe this goes back to the fundamentals of our subconscious, what we experience as kids, and not that it was bad, but those things are we're walking through life as an adult with that in us, and
they're afraid. Yes.
Yeah, not good enough. There you go. I mean,
Yep.
As I've done some work and in my journey, I could sit here and rattle off a whole bunch of reasons why I believe I had that thought of I'm not good enough. Yeah, keep going. And more things, come up from time to time. Like, oh, remember the time that, oh, remember that. All from
Yes,
childhood.
yes,
And
yes.
maybe,
And you
maybe
got
into,
through it. You got through it.
yeah, because I identified it. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And interestingly, I don't even know how to put this, but I see it showing up in other ways in my life and even around my kids, and not necessarily just them, people around them. It's almost, and I'm not in control of it. It's almost
Hmm.
interesting how life repeats itself. It's
Yes, it
when you
does. It
you
does.
take a step back and just kind of look at it from afar. Uh, but sometimes not easy to make sense of. That's the biggest
At the
challenge.
moment, no. At the
Yeah.
moment, you're like, you know,
Yeah.
but it gets better. It gets
Ta
better.
Tammy,
Just share.
how do you minimize your worry? Right now, let's say you got something on your mind, you're worried about it. How do you turn that around?
Well, there's several things I do actually. So I do pray. And I used to pray and I would pray like begging. Now I pray and it's more like, thank you for hearing me and thank you for answering and thank you that you said all I have to do is ask and you're already working on it. You already were, kind of thing.
Interesting. So
Um,
you're taking it from a side of gratitude
Mhm.
as opposed to a situation of desperation.
100%.
Hmm.
I used to see prayer as another way to beat myself up and think, here's another parent who isn't going to be kind to me and who doesn't appreciate me and doesn't have time for me and, you know, is going to punish, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so every time I saw a prayer unanswered, which really was, please help me to feel good enough. Please help me to not feel afraid. Please help me. And God already was giving me those things. I just didn't know how to hear that.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't know how to know that at the time either. So I've been able to learn that and been able to shift that. And it's changed my relationship with God. It's changed my relationship with myself. But again, there was a lot of work. And I did want to reiterate, even though it's hard, the other way is harder. And so doing the work to make the change, it's okay that it's hard, right? Like I use the example of a woman giving birth, right? It's extremely hard, but it's really great because now she's been looking forward to that happening for some time.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
Sure.
it's okay that it's hard. We almost have this idea that hard is bad.
Mhm.
And so,
I look at the same way, and the birth analogy, I use it a lot
mm,
because sometimes you have to go through the birth canal before you get to the other side to
mhm,
experience, the other side of worrying or whatever the challenge might
yeah.
be,
Mhm.
you know?
And
Mhm.
your face will look, like
Right. Not easy for a baby.
that.
I can't imagine the baby sitting there. Oh, hey, that was a great ride. Hey, all right.
Yeah.
No, it's a challenge, but once you get there, and for sure, um, would you say, Tammy, would you say that you've minimized your worry to a very large degree at this point?
Yes. Um, I do also, I'm always transparent to say it is something I work on every day. Um, there are some people, what they're working with is mild and they can work through it. Majority of the clients I work with, it is far from mild and they've been living with it for a lifetime. And
Yeah.
so to go from feeling a 10 all the time in the pit of their stomach or the tight of their throat or the not good enough to a 5, that's life changing. And some days it's a 0, right? And I get to say the same for myself. Some days it's a 0. And there are some days it can hit 10 and I bring it back down to like a 5. Very rarely do I ever get stuck at 10. But if I am ever stuck at 10 because of whatever the issue is in the moment, I know how to bring in the tools to let myself be okay in that space as well. Right? Like a new death or a new super big issue or so even if I'm able to be to see it still as the guide that it is and let myself be able to be over here and calm and nurturing and supportive at exactly the same time. So it's not just only one like it used to be.
I appreciate the mention of gratitude and how that really impacts you. and even taking it from, you know, praying to God, even if you're not religious, you could be grateful to the universe, whatever it is,
Mhm,
whatever's
mhm,
out
mhm,
around here, whatever's bigger
mhm.
than us or you, and look at that and such, wow, I did get through that. Thank you for supporting me, because I don't think I would have gotten through that if I didn't have some kind of support.
Mm.
Where did that come from? you know Whatever you want to believe in, but it's a cliche, but the attitude of gratitude. I heard this, somebody said this to me. In keeping a gratitude journal, I keep one. I'm going to be honest here, and say that I don't think it's as effective as it should be and can be, uh, because I'll write in it right before I leave every morning. I'm like, I'm running around, take the dog out. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta go upstairs, open up the nightstand, and then I'm out the door. I'm not intentional of just sitting with it.
Hmm.
The things I put in there, I think they're meaningful. And somebody said to me, "Oh, what you should be doing is sit on the edge of your bed, put your feet on the floor, grounding, think about what you want to write, put it down there. Three things. We're good."
Mhm, mhm.
And doing it before you go to bed, as opposed to when you just woke up, is going to give you better sleep. In 14 days, he said, better sleep, better clarity, and you'll see the benefits of that gratitude coming your way. So I'm doing that tonight. I'm going to change it up a little
Good,
bit.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if you
and I
want to
tell them
add
to
a little
read it in the
support to
morning
help.
too.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, I tell them to read it in the morning. What did they write that night? Read it the
Read
next
it out
morning.
loud.
Hey, you
Yeah.
know what? Thank you for that. I didn't even think of
Hmm.
that. Duh.
Yeah,
Yep,
totally. Reading it out loud is good
yep.
because you're also hearing the gratitude back to you in your own voice and your own vibration. But what
Hmm.
I was going to add to that, I've been doing it also now with Miriam, is if you choose to add, like level that up and add one or two people you're going to send it to who may also be interested in sending you theirs. And so that creates an additional, you're now reading their gratitudes. You're inspired by them. You also inspired them to do it. And then they're reading yours. So now they're telling you how inspired they are by what you're accomplishing, or what you're grateful for, or any of those things. It's taken me to another level, and I've
Wow.
been doing that now for about a month. But I'll
Wow.
tell you, there's days when I don't, and today is I haven't done it. Like I did it, but I didn't send it for a week. So Miriam's gonna get a week's worth in one text of all my gratitudes.
This,
But when I read it, I think, okay, wow, I didn't think to be grateful for that. I didn't think to be grateful. Yeah, I need to add this to my gratitude. So
wow.
it kind of helps
It's
me too.
beautiful. Yeah.
Love that. You just gave me an idea. So I shared maybe once before. I'm in a men's group,
Hmm.
and they
Mhm.
made me the shaman. Uh, you know,
Oh, great.
so honestly, all I do is just share the info that people like you give me, and I pass it on. I'm not the smartest man in the room.
Good stuff, though. But it makes you the smartest man because you bring in the knowledge.
Well, yes, and I have a passion for it. So,
Mhm.
but what I'm going to do, starting next week when we meet again, we met last night, is talk about gratitude, but we use WhatsApp and just share our information. We have commitments,
Mm,
weekly commitments.
that'll
It
be
could
perfect.
going to the gym and all that. I'm going to create a separate feed to put your gratitude up there, so it's a way to share. Um,
Hmm.
and I see the power in it. Just what you both said, like how this can
Yeah.
really, because you're putting it out there, and then you're seeing others, and then you might realize it even in somebody else. I'm sure between you, Tammy, and Miriam, that you've shared things with, and you might not have thought of, oh yeah, I am grateful for that. I didn't even think of that
Hmm.
though.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
Fantastic. Thank you
Yeah.
Yeah.
for everything today.
Add one piece
You're
if you
welcome.
want to
Sure.
having them speak into what they're grateful for and who God has created them.
Say that again. I want to process that.
Yes. Have them add in the gratitudes of what they're grateful for on who God has created them to be. So I am grateful I am a loving man of God. I am grateful that I am giving. I am grateful that I am a single dad who does what it takes. I am grateful that um, I choose tonight to go to Bible study instead of out to drink. I call it your badass list, but included into your gratitudes.
Wow.
It's very powerful in owning their
Because we don't do that.
We
We
don't
don't say
do it.
we're grateful. I'm a single dad. I just do my job as best I can, but I
speak
don't.
into it. I am a single dad. I love my kids so much. I am sacrificing my time to be with my little one, or speak it like you would speak it over someone else, because that's what God is saying about you.
Hmm.
And that's who he sees his son is. And it's so very uplifting of the spirit.
Aha moment. Seriously, I don't think we do that. We just, even as parents,
Yes.
yeah, I'm grateful my kids are healthy and
Mhm.
happy, blah blah blah. But
Mhm.
we don't embrace the gratitude for the opportunity to be a parent or whatever it is, whatever you do. Even, people don't even go to work tomorrow or
Yeah, we're taught to put it down like what we're doing is nothing.
like it's a chore.
It's the trick of the world, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic talking with you both today. Miriam, we want to find our dreams. How do we do that?
You can find me on my website is Right Way to Your Dreams, right with a W, rightwaytoyourdreams.com. My phone number is 407-216-9129. And my email is coachmiriammw@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Tammy, how might we find you?
You could find me with Miriam all the time. You can find me at Coach Tammy Star, STAR. And that's pretty much on every social media. You can also reach me at sparkshope.life/book-online. Or my cell phone, 954-657-3407. Shoot a text or a call, leave a message. I'm definitely old school. So I'm cool with a message.
Awesome. Let's minimize that worry. And I am
Yes.
grateful that I had a chance to talk with you both today. And
And my book is now on Amazon,
thank you.
and it will be on Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and several other places. Just,
Best title
look for
ever.
Why Worry?
Best title ever. Why worry?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you have to because of your past, but you don't need to. And we need to look at it
Exactly.
that way.
You can
Uh,
turn it around.
you can turn it around. Thank you both for today. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
having me.
Thanks.
I
We'll
like
be
to say big squishy hugs for health.
right back at you. right.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.